Have you ever noticed how difficult it can be to say a simple word like no? Sometimes people know they are overwhelmed. They know they are tired. They know they don't really want to take on another responsibility. And yet, when someone asks for help, the word yes still comes out. Even when they know they don't have the energy. Even when they know it will add stress. Even when they know they truly need rest. For many people, saying no feels uncomfortable. Sometimes it even feels impossible. They worry about disappointing people. They worry about hurting someone's feelings. They worry about being seen as selfish. And so instead of saying no, they say yes. Again and again, until they eventually find themselves carrying far more than they were ever meant to carry. But the struggle to say no usually isn't about weakness, and it usually isn't about being too kind. More often, it is something that was learned long ago. For many people, the habit of saying yes begins in childhood. Children quickly learn which behaviors receive approval. When they are helpful, they are praised. When they cooperate, things feel peaceful. When they make life easier for others, they are often rewarded with kindness and appreciation. Over time, the brain begins making a connection. Being helpful feels safe. Being agreeable feels safe. And being liked feels safe. So the child learns to prioritize the needs of others. They become the one who helps, the one who cooperates, the one who rarely says no. And because this behavior creates harmony, it slowly becomes a pattern, one that can follow someone quietly into adulthood. Another reason people struggle to say no is the fear of disappointing others. Most people don't enjoy letting someone down. But for some individuals, the fear of disappointing someone feels extremely heavy. It can feel like they are responsible for protecting the other person's emotions. If they say no, they imagine the other person feeling hurt. If they decline, they imagine the other person feeling rejected. And because they care deeply about how others feel, they often choose the path that keeps everyone comfortable, even if that path creates stress for themselves. For many people, saying no also carries the risk of conflict. If someone grew up in an environment where disagreements led to tension or arguments, they may have learned that avoiding conflict is the safest option. And sometimes the easiest way to avoid conflict is simply to agree, to go along with what someone asks, to say yes even when the answer should be no, because saying yes feels peaceful in the moment, but over time, constantly avoiding conflict can create a quiet form of exhaustion. Kindness is a beautiful quality. Helping others, supporting friends, being generous with time and energy. These are meaningful ways people connect with each other. But kindness can sometimes become overextension. When someone constantly says yes, they may slowly begin neglecting their own needs. They may sacrifice rest. They may sacrifice personal time. They may sacrifice their own well-being. And over time, they can begin to feel drained, not because they stopped caring about others, but because they forgot to care for themselves. One of the most difficult parts of learning to say no is the guilt that can appear afterward. Many people feel uncomfortable the first time they set a boundary. They may question themselves. They may wonder if they were too harsh. They may replay the conversation in their mind. But healthy boundaries are not acts of rejection. They are simply limits that protect your energy. Saying no does not mean you do not care about someone. It simply means you are recognizing your own capacity. Every person has a limited amount of emotional and physical energy. When someone constantly gives without limits, that energy eventually runs low. But when people begin protecting their time and energy, something interesting happens. Their relationships often become healthier, because when someone chooses to help from a place of balance instead of exhaustion, their support becomes more genuine. For many people, learning to say no requires a shift in perspective. Saying no does not mean rejecting someone. It simply means acknowledging that you cannot do everything. Healthy relationships allow space for both yes and no. They allow people to express their limits without fear. And when someone respects your boundaries, it often strengthens the relationship rather than damaging it. Learning to say no does not have to happen all at once. It often begins with small moments. Declining a request when you are truly tired. Taking time for yourself without apologizing. Recognizing when your schedule is already full. Each small boundary sends a message to your brain. Your needs matter too. And over time, those small moments of honesty begin to create a healthier balance. If saying no has always felt difficult for you, it's important to remember that this pattern likely developed for a reason. It may have helped you maintain harmony in difficult environments. It may have helped you feel accepted. It may have helped you navigate relationships that once felt fragile. But you were never meant to carry every responsibility placed in front of you. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to choose where your energy goes. And you are allowed to say no when something no longer feels right. Because protecting your energy is not selfish. It is simply part of living a balanced life. If this video resonated with you, the next video in this series explores why some people feel guilty when they rest. Because for many people who struggle to say no, rest can sometimes feel uncomfortable.